stream anytime, anywhere with the free PBS app.
Forget everything you know about public housing. Langston Terrace offered stylish homes and a ticket out of the tenements.
People were coming from crowded tenement slums.
So for a person living here, this must have felt like a paradise.
Yes, no doubt it did. This was an arrival of sorts.
The journey here started in the South for many. More than 1 million African Americans traveled north between the world wars in what was called the Great Migration. They hoped to trade rural poverty and racial violence for good jobs and decent housing in cities like Washington, D.C.
But the number of places that blacks could live were very limited. Those tenements, those tightly packed slums, those were not consciously designed by an architect.
A solution would come from a pioneering African American named Hilyard Robinson. Of the 20,000 architects in America, Robinson was one of just 20 minorities. He firmly believed in the power of architecture to change lives.
He was driven. This was a religion, a way of life for him, a mission.
So when the federal government needed an architect for its first housing project in the nation's capital, Hilyard Robinson was a logical choice. Langston Terrace was to be designed expressly for African Americans, but Robinson found his inspiration in an unlikely place. Europe was still rebuilding from World War I when Hilyard Robinson started his 18-month tour in 1931. He saw the work of radical, young architects who shared his belief that architecture could build a brighter future. These modernists stripped away ornamentation with its reminders of Europe's ugly past. Instead, they celebrated the materials of tomorrow.
These architects are looking to harness technologies to use the machine to mass-produce housing that is cleaner, that is more open, that has better access to daylight, that has plumbing and electricity, that takes people literally up off the ground.
The lessons for Hilyard Robinson's own work were clear. When Langston Terrace was completed in 1938, it heralded the arrival of European modernism in America.
I remember my first sight of Langston was really pretty.
A 9-year-old Eloise Greenfield was among the first to move in.
As a child, I didn't know anything about designs, modern design. I just knew that it was beautiful.
In many ways, Hilyard Robinson's design was right out of the modernist playbook. The sleek rectangular forms are nearly devoid of decoration. Elsewhere, Robinson added his own flourishes. A decorative frieze called The Progress of the Negro Race celebrates the African American journey from the struggles of the rural South to a better life in the industrial North.
The relief sculpture was one of the things that our parents pointed out to us that was part of our history.
Robinson's spacious urban plan was a stark contrast from the crowded tenements. Instead of traffic-choked streets, he laid out green spaces, creating what was known as a superblock. And he integrated the complex into the rolling landscape.
From this being a high point as it is cascading down.
Rather than cramming the buildings together, Robinson arranged them in a U shape around a courtyard. This opened up each apartment to daylight and fresh air. And the central courtyard offered a community gathering place.
People came this way to play jump rope, double dutch, play dodgeball, hide and seek. The court was the place where we played.
The innovative features that worked so well for residents here soon became standard in public housing. But after World War II, the results were not so successful.
The form of some of these buildings was pretty awful.
Cities built massive modernist towers that often concentrated poverty. Residents were isolated from opportunities on island-like superblocks. And the green spaces between the buildings often became danger zones.
Design cannot solve every problem. Design cannot make people richer. Design cannot make people better educated. People can make people better educated. Architecture is a framework. It's never been more than a framework.
And Hilyard Robinson's modestly scaled buildings did provide that physical framework for residents to succeed. Like Eloise Greenfield, who became an acclaimed poet and children's author.
I still love Langston so much and what it brought to my life.
You're talking here about an American story. You move into public housing, and from there you're hoping to take the next step, which is your own home, your own place. End of story.